The journey to becoming a Master Mason is a profound and transformative experience that has shaped the life of countless men throughout history. This journey begins with a crucial first step: becoming an entered apprentice. The entered apprentice, or first degree in Freemasonry, serves as the foundation upon which all further Masonic knowledge and wisdom is built. Before we dive deeper, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Brother Darren Allett, and I hold the Right Worshipful rank of Past Senior Grand Warden. For the last 17 years, I've been studying and practicing Freemasonry, and today I'm going to share what I have learned and discovered with you, because my goal is to help you understand the timeless lessons and principles that Freemasonry has to offer, so you can apply them in your own life. And in this edition of Daily Masonic Progress, we'll first examine the historical context and significance of the entered apprentice degree, setting the stage for understanding its importance in Freemasonry. Next, I'll describe the nature of the initiation ceremony and provide some insights into this transformative experience. And then I'll delve into the key lessons taught in the first degree, exploring the fundamental principles that shape a Mason's journey. Following that, I'll discuss the nature of Masonic knowledge and clarify a little misconception about Masonic secrets. And then finally, I'm going to share with you the expectations that a entered apprentice Freemason has and illustrate how these principles are applied in daily life. And by the end of this, you'll have a comprehensive understanding of what the first step in the Masonic journey is and how it lays the groundwork for further advancement in the craft. But first, the entered apprentice degree is the first of the 3 primary degrees in Freemasonry. It has its roots deeply embedded in our history. The degree originated from the practices of the medieval stonemasons guilds, where young men would be entered as apprentices to learn the craft of stonemasonry. As Freemasonry evolved from an operative or practical to a speculative or philosophical masonry in the late 17th and 18th centuries, it adapted this system of apprenticeship, transforming it into a symbolic journey of moral and spiritual growth. Now, the term entered apprentice itself reflects on this historical connection. You see, in operative masonry, when a young man was accepted into the guild to begin his training, he was literally entered into the guild's rolls as an apprentice. So in Freemasonry, this entering represents the candidate's first step into the fraternity and symbolizes the beginning of a man's Masonic education. But it also represents a symbolic rebirth of a Mason, marking the beginning of his journey in Freemasonry. When a man receives this degree, it signifies his initial acceptance in the fraternity and his commitment to its principles. It's the first step towards moral and spiritual enlightenment within the Masonic tradition. Now that we know where the entered apprentice degree comes from, what about the initiation ceremony? Well, the initiation for an entered apprentice is a solemn and meaningful experience. And while the specific details of what happens during the ceremony are reserved for only those taking it, it's designed to make a lasting impression on the candidate and introduce you to symbolic teachings in a very profound way. But what I can share is that the ceremony typically involves some symbolic actions that represent the entrance into Masonic life, the presentation of a number of different Masonic symbols and tools, as well as their explanation. And then some charges or lectures that teach some important Masonic lessons. And during this ceremony, the Mason is also introduced to what we call the modes of recognition. You may know them as the Masonic secrets. And they're not what many actually imagine them to be. In Freemasonry, these secrets serve as a means of proving your qualifications as a Mason to other Freemasons. Think of them like a resume or a LinkedIn profile or a trade or university certificate. You see, in the modern professional world, we can verify qualifications, and they're pretty much just like a username and password, but they're a physical action. And these allow us to transmit trust and respect, and they serve a practical purpose in preserving the integrity of Freemasonry. Next, we need to consider that the entered apprentice degree also introduces several core principles that are absolutely central to Freemasonry. You see, Freemasonry places great emphasis on the development of a strong moral character. Apprentices are taught the importance of honesty, reliability, and ethical behavior in every aspect of life. And this focus on integrity helps us as Masons become better men and more valuable members of society. But the only way that this can be done is through the craft teaching that education is a lifelong pursuit. Apprentices are encouraged to constantly seek knowledge and understanding, and not just Masonic knowledge, but knowledge from the world around them. And it's this commitment to learning that helps Masons grow intellectually as well as spiritually in every aspect of their life. But Freemasonry also teaches an important lesson of caring for others. Apprentices learn about the significance of charity, both in terms of financial giving and also showing kindness and compassion. But it's also a key lesson to teach you that we don't need material things in order to realize that our value in the world comes from our character, not our wallet. And this means that the principle of brotherly love can extend to fellow Masons as well as to humanity at all. But the first degree also introduces Masons to the use of symbols as tools for conveying lessons. Each symbol in Freemasonry has a very deep meaning, and it relates to both a practical lesson as well as an ethical or philosophical concept. And by studying on these symbols, you can begin to understand all of these complex ideas in very tangible and simple ways. But Freemasonry also teaches the apprentice that rights come with responsibilities. You see, as the apprentice learns about the duties that they owe to themselves, to their God, to their family, to their communities, and to the craft, it allows them to realize that balance helps Masons become more conscientious citizens. And these themes are not presented in abstract concepts. Instead, they're incorporated into allegories or stories, as well as those symbolic and encourage Masons to reflect deeply on their meanings and how they can then apply them in daily life. Now, and while this all might seem pretty strange, we need to consider about the nature of Masonic knowledge. You see, it's crucial to understand that Masonic knowledge is not secret in the traditional sense, but rather job specific. And just as professionals in various fields possess esoteric or specialized knowledge that's pertinent to their work, Freemasons have knowledge specific to Freemasonry. I'll give you a couple of examples. For instance, an electrician understands the intricacies of wiring systems and electrical codes. A software engineer is versed in programming languages and algorithms, while a doctor has in-depth knowledge of human anatomy and medical procedures. And these are all examples of esoteric or secret knowledge. And similarly as Freemasons, well, our esoteric or secret knowledge is just how these symbols and rituals and philosophies are taught. The same way that how when you enroll in a course at university or a technical college, it's taught in a very specific way. And the idea of this knowledge is it's meant to be experienced first and then understood intellectually second. And this is especially important within the context of Masonic progression. It's not hidden out of secrecy, but reserved for those who have committed to the Masonic journey and are progressing through it and are prepared to actually commit to understanding those deeper meanings. Now, in order to be able to put all of this together, there are going to be some expectations that are placed upon the apprentice. Because whilst it is a journey of continuous learning and improvement, there needs to be a commitment to this ongoing growth, because that's a fundamental aspect of Freemasonry. And the first degree emphasizes the importance of a lifelong personal development, and apprentices are expected to deeply contemplate the lessons imparted during their initiation ceremony, and that reflection helps them internalize Masonic principles so they can then apply them in their daily life. But apprentices also need to start learning small portions of Masonic ritual. This not only prepares them to be advanced to future degrees, but helps them understand the structure and the symbolism in their ceremonies. And the other expectation is you are going to need to try to understand the symbolism. It's actually quite simple because they're tools that an operative Mason would use. And for example, if he picks up a hammer, well, what do you do with a hammer? It teaches things like perseverance. But the key lesson is about being able to interpret and apply those symbols to develop critical thinking skills and deepen your understanding of Masonic philosophy. But going to Lodge makes you as much of a Mason as standing in a garage makes you a car. So getting actively involved in Lodge and Masonic activities is critical because participation helps build bonds with fellow Masons, provides practical experience in applying the principles. But you actually have to live up to those principles. And that's probably the most important thing. Entered apprentices are expected to demonstrate their commitment to Masonic ideals in their daily lives. And it means striving to be better men, even when they make mistakes, and more ethical people, and more engaged members of the community. And finally, the most important lesson, which would hopefully ring true for you since this is called Daily Masonic Progress, is apprentices are taught and encouraged to make progress in Masonic knowledge every day, no matter how small. And that can involve reading Masonic literature, discussing concepts with fellow Masons on a group chat, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, or reading the Daily Masonic Progress newsletter. Now, all of these expectations are not there to be burdens, but rather they're there to help new Masons integrate Masonic teachings into their lives and give you the framework for personal growth and prepare you for further advancement, not only within the fraternity, but further advancement in your own life. Now, the journey of an entered apprentice is one of awakening to new ideas, to deeper understanding of oneself, and the potential for positive change in you and in the world. It sets the stage for a lifelong commitment to learning, self-improvement, and service to others. But that's only achieved by embodying the core principles that have made Freemasonry a respected, enduring, and timeless organization throughout the centuries. But there's one thing that remains. In order to become a Master Mason, the entered apprentice must be passed to the second or fellow craft degree. And that typically takes around 6 to 8, maybe 12 months. This period should allow sufficient time for the apprentice to absorb and demonstrate the understanding of the foundational principles. You see, once an apprentice has shown proficiency in the lessons and knowledge of the first degree, then he's eligible to be examined, to be passed to the second degree, and continue his journey towards being a Master Mason.